Back in Rosemont, the Wisconsin Badgers coming off a 23-win campaign back in the NCAAs last year after a streak of 19 consecutive tourney appearances came to an end. They returned 3 of the top 5 scorers. The guy who left leaves a fairly significant void. Ethan Happ, more than 2,100 career points, along with more than 1,200 career rebounds. Very pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Badgers, Gard, along with a couple of his guards, Trice and Brevin Pritzl. Guys, before we get into the team, a huge offseason tragedy with your team, someone who we know very well at BTN, who was a colleague of ours for a time, and Howard Moore, very tragically losing his wife and daughter in a car accident. I know Coach Moore is taking the year off to recover from the injuries he suffered in that accident. First of all, what can you kind of tell us to update us on Coach?
Well, he's trying to rehab and get back to health. I think it's something, Dave, that you don't wish on your worst enemy, but yet at the same time you have to find a way to walk through it. I think our guys have handled this. In some regards, it's been the first tragedy or first experience like this, of a real life experience that a lot of these guys have walked through, and the support we've had has been tremendous. And obviously we appreciate the internal support at Wisconsin, but across the Big Ten Conference, all the people that have reached out and continue to keep Coach Moore and his family in their thoughts and prayers.
Well, one of the all-time great guys, as you guys are well aware. How has the team dealt with this internally? Interested from both of you. Dimitri, you can start.
Yeah, honestly, the team has done a great job from a personal standpoint and inside the team, and I think the coaches have done a great job of instilling confidence in us and just being a voice and being there for us. We've had moments of doubt, and I think that the coaches have definitely instilled that confidence back to this team.
Brevin?
I think the biggest thing for our team is just the kind of the family mentality Coach Moore has instilled in all of us. You know, we everybody's there for each other in this time, and it's just something that we have to work together with to kind of battle.
Well, I know the biggest question you're going to be asked on the court is about the departure of Ethan Happ, who was such a big part of what you guys do. So much ran through him. What will this team look like without Ethan? I mean, is the attack going to be different visibly to people from the outside?
Well, I think, first of all, you understand you don't replace Ethan Happ. We aren't creating 2.0 and plug and play. So, and it's not the first time we've had really good players move on to after their careers are done. So every team, the system and the nuts and bolts of it will remain the same, but every team kind of organically finds their strengths. And obviously with Ethan, it was playing through the post and through him a lot. This team is working on their identity. Obviously, I like the versatility of this group. I like the ability to stretch the floor. We have a lot of multidimensional players, which I think is going to bode well for us. I think the biggest thing I'm probably more concerned about, and these guys can talk about what we've been working on in practice, is replacing that experience defensively of Ethan and Khalil Iverson that had, collectively 9 years in the program, a lot of repetitions, a lot of practice, a lot of film, a lot of game experience that we're going to have to find a way to get this group to develop that identity of what we had collectively as a team defensively at the end of last year.
So, Brevin, how do you do that?
I think the biggest thing is it comes to the guys who have the experience of being on the court, like Meach, Brad, myself, Nate. Like, we've all been through the wars now. Everybody's in their third. I'm in my 5th year here. So I've been instilled in the ways of the Wisconsin basketball defense. But I think it's about kind of bringing everybody, even the guys who haven't been in that system as much. It's talking to them, making sure they understand what we're trying to work for and how we do that.
Dimitri, do you see this as a guard-led team now?
Yeah, definitely. I think that me and Brad having the experience that we have and the playing time and just being in different atmospheres, I think that we definitely have the experience, and it's going to be a guard-led team. And I think losing somebody like Ethan Happ and him being a big stamp on this program, I think that those shoes are going to need to be filled. And I think that Brad and myself and other guards such as Trevor are willing to fill that role.
You mentioned Brad being Brad Davison, of course. One of the things I found interesting about your team, and I've talked about this with Coach a few times, but I'm interested in your take on it. You were a high school quarterback and a really good one. Brad Davison was a really good high school quarterback as well. How does that translate to the basketball court?
Yeah, we've talked about this since day one, since we got here. And being a quarterback is being the head of the guys on the field and being the head of the team. Obviously, you're in a leadership position. And I think that just translates to the basketball court, being the point guard, being the leader. Kind of, Coach always said, if you can coach 10 guys on the football field, you can do it to 4 other guys that are on the court at the same time. So I just think that it translates really well. And then just being the head of the offense and the defense, just being somebody that they can look up to.
How do you see it playing out, knowing, Brevin, that these guys have been in that role before? How does it manifest itself on the court?
I think it's that kind of vocal leadership that really exemplifies like being a quarterback, because each one of them is very good at communicating to each type of player. Maybe someone doesn't respond as well to a certain type of, talk, but because they have that ability and know how, I mean, it's just that leadership quality that you just see. It just is easily there. It doesn't seem like it's forced. It's just a natural thing.
We talked a little bit about Ethan Happ, and as you say, you don't replace Ethan Happ, but you have some front court players who Nate Reavers showed a lot of promise last year and had some games where you could kind of logically make that jump and say, hey, he can do a lot of the same things. But you also add Micah Potter, and I remember us talking last year after he had transferred in, and you said he's just a perfect fit for us. So now that he's going to be able to play for you, what's the role that you see Micah playing?
Well, I think he's still learning what we do. I think the culture and the locker room and his skill set have fit immensely right off the bat. He's been a great addition, but I think he's still learning. We're 4 days into practice, so he's learning all.
He doesn't have it all down yet.
No, he came in
all
midstream in December, so he's still learning specifically defensive terminology and some of those things. But he brings a physical toughness. He brings some size to the front line. Obviously, being a Big Ten experienced player, I think that helps with the 2 years he had at Ohio State. And he obviously has a skill set. Our bigs have been known historically to be able to shoot the ball and stretch the floor, and he brings that dimension as well. But he's been terrific in our locker room. He's fit like he's been there for 3 or 4 years from a culture standpoint. So he's been a good addition. And Aleem Ford, Nate Reavers, you mentioned, both have really good off seasons. And you typically, when the older statesmen, so to speak, Ethan Happ in this case, move on. Other guys that maybe were not in the spotlight, so to speak, it's their time to shine, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Nate and Aleem can both produce too.
You guys are on the court together all summer. I mean, for you guys, it really never stops, and so I think you see development of players during the course of that time. So who has made the biggest jump in your mind, Brevin and Dimitri? I'm interested in your take too, from when we saw the season end last year to where you guys are right now.
I think for me, just like a first observation, be like Aleem Ford. He has been specifically known more as a three-point shooter, jump shooter, and I think he's really taken upon himself through this summer and through this offseason to really be more of that physical post presence that we've all known he can be, and that another post scoring option that's been consistent and will battle for us.
Yeah, for me, it'd also be Aleem, and I also think Kobe has taken the right steps that he's needed to take last year, coming off an injury the year before, and maybe not having the same confidence that he does right now. And I think that Aleem, like Brevin said, he's been an outside shooting presence, and he's definitely worked on his ball handling and his strength, and he's finally getting that confidence to be a more versatile player.
Greg Gard, Dimitri Trice, Brevin Pritzl, thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Best of luck this year. Always fun to visit with you.
Thanks, Dave.